Well, hello guys, welcome back to the channel again, and this time for the review of this week's chapter of the 7 Deadly Sins, 175 of its name to my beloved Meliodas. And contrary to my former beliefs in the last video, if you've seen it, I was actually expecting this to be some sort of help from Elizabeth to Meliodas, but it was all but that. If you've seen my previous review of the 7 Deadly Sins of 173 and 174, you have seen that I'm not really happy with these last two chapters. And to my sadness, I am very sad to add 175 to that list as well. Even though this chapter had a few bits and pieces that were how can I say it? Bear with me for a while. They are little bits and pieces that are useful, as in terms they set other things and give some questions and some doubts. The majority of the chapter was just more of the same. Yes, we understand finally. Well, it's not that surprising because if we remembered previously on the 7 Deadly Sins, as a similar action was taken before, and now it repeated itself. And I speak for myself, I didn't see it coming. Which is why this chapter was a little bit better than the last two, because when I read this chapter and I got to the end, I was like, okay, so everything in the last two chapters actually made sense. Everything was building up for him to do this. But at the very moment where he fails to do that, the cycle just breaks and it repeats itself over and over again. So, beginning with the first page of the chapter, we see a sort of a discussion between Gilfrost and Gilthanda, that Gilthanda wants to be sent to where Meliodas is. Gilfrost refuses to do so, but in the midst of the discussion, Gilthanda notices the ring on Gilfrost's hand, and he recognizes it, but as soon as he's trying to make conversation on it, Gilfrost turns around. This probably confirms that there's some sort of relation between Gilfrost and Gilthanda. Either they're brothers, either they're like, I don't want to say they can't be father and son for sure, but I don't know, brothers, cousins, uncle and nephew, like Gilfrost being Gilthander's uncle. I don't know, who knows. We'll get to see that later. But like that, the action sweeps back to Meliodas and the commandments, where it just keeps. Meliodas tries to awaken the real Dreyfus, and it appears that he can. I don't know if the demon inside Dreyfus actually fooled Meliodas into believing that, or if Dreyfus actually managed somehow and for a little moment to awaken within his own body. Because in the split second after, Dreyfus, or the demon, is already attacking Meliodas. So, yes. And Gloxinia attacks him as well, and Meliodas keeps on getting beat. But, as I said, it was all for an objective, and I admit again, have failed to see that objective. Because what Meliodas was after all along was to use his supreme technique, Revenge Counter. If you remember Revenge Counter, it's the technique where he absorbs all of the damage he receives and then is able to unleash it in one powerful strike. And, of course, the power of the strike is equal to the power of the damage he received. So, when he used this against Hendrickson, with the damage he received from the Holy Knights and the scenes, it was a mighty powerful strike. Now imagine that multiplied by a lot of times. And I was like, okay, we are going somewhere. He's going to use revenge counter. He's not going to defeat them all, of course. I was never thinking that. But he's going to do some damage, and maybe in that meantime, he's able to escape or being saved in some way. But I don't even know why and how Estarossa stopped revenge counter with one hand. And Meliodas just falls to the ground, beaten. He's defeated. But, and now it explains why the name of the chapter is, because Estarossa says he doesn't want to hurt his brother because his love for him runs the deepest. And therefore the chapter is named to my beloved Meliodas. It doesn't make sense, but it happens so. Now, I've been doing this a lot with the 7 Deadly Sins videos as of lately. Actually going through the chapter and then take a little bit in the end to discuss the current action, but I just don't know if it's worth it anymore, because unless things change, I fear for the future of the 7 Deadly Sins. Not that I think that the series is going wrong in any sort of way. I still love to read it. It's still one of my favorite mangas as of this moment. But I'm getting a little bit concerned, because in the previous chapters we've seen Meliodas getting beat by the 10 Commandments. Perfectly understandable, it was 1 versus 9. It's perfectly understandable. Meliodas was already tired and wounded. It is perfectly understandable. My problem is when that breaks to a whole new level. Estarossa's stopping revenge counter with just one hand just broke the scale to a whole new level. If Estarossa is able to do that, what hope is there for the remaining scenes? Not talking about Meliodas now. For the remaining scenes, for Harter, for the guys from Maracaya, for Hendrickson, for Greymoor is a child, for Gil Thunder, Gil Frost. What's going to be for them to face such powerful foes? My problem is not Meliodas getting beat by the commandments. I understand that. In the situation itself, it's understandable. Some people may say, "Oh, but before, when he got his power back and went to them for 10 seconds, he actually managed to whoop their ass." Careful with that. I used to think that as well. But someone reminded me that when that happened, the commanders were caught by surprise. And Meliodas didn't give them time to think. And Meliodas was in his prime, sorta, prime form. He was not injured, he was not tired from battle. So it was a situation that favored Meliodas. It was a situational battle where the situation favored Meliodas instead of the commandments. Now, the situation favored the commandments instead of Meliodas. But I think the scales tipped way much. The scales were balanced way more to the commandments than they were to Meliodas. Meliodas was like a rag in here. He managed to do something, but nothing really life-threatening for the demons, for the commandments. And that's really what's worrying me, because we've been at this for 3 chapters now. And the next chapter, 176, is going to be called The Darkness Speaks. And I'm just imagining it. Seeing this last page, I'm just imagining it being like Estarossa talking about something to Meliodas, telling some story, and Meliodas being pushed by Estarossa, and the whole chapter being almost like that. I've been known to fail on my predictions, and I sincerely hope that this prediction is wrong as well. Maybe there's a chance that Meliodas awakes into something way more powerful. Maybe he's able to return to his older form when he was a demon. So maybe he'll be back. Maybe he'll be able to go back to his true form, because that's the only way I see for him to get rid of this situation, because the commandments will not let him go. And if someone comes to his rescue, they will be able to track him down. So the only reason, and I spoke about this in the last video, the only way I see that the commandments give some breathing room for the sins and the others is that if they are sealed again, not totally sealed, mind me, but sealed for long enough that there's some breathing room for the good guys to prepare themselves. Because if not, then it's GG pretty much. The commandments have won. Neither of the other sins are able to withstand against them. Meliodas was the only one, and Meliodas failed. So unless it appears another party that's as powerful or more as the commandments, which could be possible, I don't see it happening, but it is possible. I really don't see much hope. I know the story's not going to end like this. It sounds like I believe in that, but I don't. But I'm just, and it's a good thing, in fact, that I'm having such trouble to figure out what's going to happen next. One of the things I love the most about manga and anime is the opportunity it provides me to make theories, to take the elements of the chapters and of past chapters and combine them and think, okay, these might happen in the next chapter. But the Seven Deadly Sins has been giving me a hard time to do that, because it's a situation that it's a scary situation. We are seeing the hero of the story getting pummeled completely by the villains without any fighting chance, and this is worrying. But still, I hold my ground. The Seven Deadly Sins is an awesome, awesome story. I want to see it all through its end, and I have faith. Suzuki Nakaba is going to surprise us, and we gotta wait for the next chapter, which will come next Monday, chapter 176, The Darkness Speaks. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Sorry if it was a shorter one. Unfortunately, the Seven Deadly Sins videos have been a little bit shorter, but it is as it is. The chapters don't have a lot to say about them. I could go on and on, but the disc is just going to repeat himself, and I prefer to move on with the last video of today, which is One Piece video, and I will see you right away.